You speaks? Wow. I'm really honored to be here with y'all. I'm really honored that some of y'all stood outside for a really long time. I want to thank our sound person, Gabriel Teodros, for putting up with all these changes, our stage managers, the incredible team, Nikkita, who had us down on details. The whole, if you're a part of the People's Party team and you're in the room, can you just raise your hand, please? Raise it high, because they need to know. Please give it up for these folks who've been holding us down. This whole thing would be impossible without them, but it'd be even more impossible without you, so give yourselves a round of applause. So I love it when people tell me that something is impossible. And in a lot of ways, this whole thing to a lot of people seems impossible. When I tell people I'm running for mayor, they always go, "Oh, isn't Murray running?" And I just smile, yeah. Yeah. I love the impossible because it gives me hope that there's something more, that there's something greater than what we've already currently imagined that we can continue to achieve. It means we haven't reached the ceiling yet of our potential, and that's inspiring. Hope, and y'all know I'm a poet, so I'm gonna pontificate a little like a poet. I love y'all. Hope is a seed, and seeds are these incredible, powerful, tiny little pieces of life that are usually buried very deep in the ground, often in wet, murky places that a lot of us would not like to go. Yet when a seed has received enough and it's well cared for, even in hard places, it'll break through, it'll open up the ground, it'll push toward the surface, and it'll get to the light where it can grow. Hope grows. And each time we've received enough, each time we have what we need, each time we have what we deserve, what's our basic right, it's my belief that we continue to grow our hope. And I believe that collectively here in Seattle, we are a seed. We are a seed of hope, that we will continue to grow. We live in a day and age when we are convinced that there's not enough. We're living in one of the most wealthy cities in the United States, if not the world, and we know there's enough. We see it every day. It's growing around us every day. And it's my belief and the belief of the People's Party that it's time that we change the narrative of scarcity to knowing that there's enough if only we were willing to share it collectively. Seattle is facing a housing and homelessness crisis that is of immense proportions, but I do not believe it's unsolvable. In 2015, Mayor Murray declared a state of emergency, and yet since then we haven't seen much done. There are thousands of people living unsheltered, hundreds of them are children. They're being swept, traumatized, and little by little, what little bit of stability they can find continues to be chipped away from them, taken away from them. And in one of the wealthiest cities in the United States, there's no excuse for this. People in our city are being pushed out by skyrocketing rents and unaccountable development. Housing is a human right. Having someplace to live is a human right. Requires immediate and effective response to get people sheltered and to ensure that long-standing residents of our city are not pushed out, that you have the right to stay put in the city you called home. And while encampments have served as mitigation, they are not a long-term policy solution. We need housing first, access to 24/7 shelters, a navigation center that's placed in a neighborhood that wants it there, that's had conversation and invited it there. We need permanent housing which provides the best possible wraparound and human services available to aid people and when they are ready to find stability and get off the streets. And I commit to work proactively towards that end. Seattle has economically vulnerable citizens of all colors, and we need to help them have the ability to stay put and to stay healthy in this city. We have the resources to do it. We can do this by making sure affordable housing moves in lockstep with development. We must stop giving developers a free ride. We must expect and demand that they invest in our communities, invest in the city that they say they want to be a part of, because to be a part of something, you invest in it. And we need to employ every single tool possible to fight against displacement. If we truly desire to be a proactive city that is challenging the economic apartheid we're seeing, we will fight back affirmatively and aggressively, and we will push for rent control. It's not too late, but we have to counteract the displacement of marginalized and vulnerable populations, including our seniors. We have to take care of our elders. We have to fight against neighborhoods becoming museums that the people who call it home can no longer live there, can no longer really even safely visit there because the people who have moved into the neighborhood view them as a threat. We have to stop that. We need and we deserve smart, equitable development and strategic urban planning. The burden of zoning changes and density has been isolated to particular neighborhoods, and it's those that have mostly been historically marginalized in our city. We engage in the Seattle process time and time again, but the same voices are always left out of the conversation. If we are to do urban planning and development well, all impacted peoples must be included equitably, must be included in a meaningful way that our input is included in what development looks like in the city. As much as we are pro-density and fight for density, we must be anti-displacement. We have to do both of those well. For the sake of our city and the environment, and the residents who depend day in and day out on our public transportation, we must also ensure that our transit system keeps up with development and that transit remains affordable. What good is it if we build up our city and people cannot get around? And as our city expands, as there are more brilliant young people in our city, more families, our education system needs to be quality. It needs to be accessible. It needs to fight against disproportionality and school exclusion. Education is often viewed as the great equalizer, but for too many young people, that promise rings hollow, especially for students of color and cash-poor students. Education in Seattle must be a place for all young people to realize their potential, to problem solve, and to actively engage in their communities and their culture. Low-income youth and youth of color are more likely to be funneled into the school-to-prison pipeline and less likely to be placed on college-bound tracks and less likely to graduate with the tools they need to succeed. We have a school district that has a $74 million deficit. The students that will first be most impacted are low-income students of color, the students who can least be able to take that kind of hard hit. We need to ensure that our school district has the financial support and capacity that it needs, not only to support the teachers and staff that are there now, but to expand. We need to ensure our school district serves our young people. There should not be. There's a reason why that separation exists. But what we are saying is our city must invest resources in ensuring that our schools are healthy. Because when our schools are healthy, our city is healthy. And that's important. But to also stop the school-to-prison pipeline, we need to transform the criminal legal system and continue to work on police reform. We cannot arrest our way out of unaddressed social problems. We cannot imprison our way out of the trauma that the criminal and justice system has created. In fact, we must restore our way out of it. We must move towards restorative justice principles. We must move towards accountability and rehabilitation and away from retribution and punishment in order to create truly safe and healthy communities. We must transform the presence and the role of law enforcement in our communities. When we talk about community-based policing, this cannot be determined by politicians. What community-based policing looks like has to be determined by the communities most impacted by policing. And while we may have made strides in the right direction, this sort of transformation has taken too long. It hasn't been quick enough. We saw the attack on Jesse Hagopian and the murder of Che Taylor. Those things should not be happening here. So we must pursue a robust version of legislation, such as what's currently before the City Council, that includes an expanded and permanent politically independent community policing commission that has teeth, that has the ability to effect change. As mayor, if we were to say we would not, take a recommendation of the Community Policing Commission, we need to give public comment. We need to accept public criticism. We need to give our reasons for why and be accountable to the communities that impacts. For that reason, we also need the Office of Professional Accountability to have civilian oversight. Investigating police officers on issues of accountability. Seattle officers must be held to a higher standard of accountability. If they are to hold everyday citizens to following the law, they too must follow the law. They should be expected to follow it at a higher level of accountability. We also must continue the pursuit of zero detention of youth. The Youth Jail presents for us a public safety issue. We are dealing with a broken system, not broken children. Traumatizes them. It is a statistically ineffective, outdated tool, and we cannot double down on a broken system. If we are going to be truly progressive, we need to develop a way of rehabilitating and encouraging young people to their fullest potential so they can be a part of our communities, not taken out of them. ourselves adults, we need to be accountable for the system of inequality and racial disproportionality that we have handed down to our young people. That is our fault, and it's our duty to repair it. And we cannot stop with the juvenile legal system. Our adult criminal legal system needs changes as well. The city of Seattle would benefit from reduction and prosecution of quality of life crimes. We cannot prosecute people for being poor. One of the initiatives the People's Party will press forward on is bail reform, expanding access to pretrial services, and ensuring that people do not have to become court involved, get the human services that set them on the right foot to succeed. Let's not forget the times that we live in. We have to stand for and with our immigrant and refugee families in a real and meaningful way. Thus far, Seattle's commitment to being a sanctuary city has been mostly word and not deed. I was at the airport when SPD was macing and attacking not protesters, we were protectors. We were ensuring that we held to the commitment that Seattle made to our immigrant and refugee families. Running for mayor has been one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. It is not a choice I make lightly, and I'm moved by everything that people have said to me thus far. I'm moved by your presence here, and I ask you to hold me accountable. I ask you to challenge me when I'm not transparent, and if you have to, publicly call me out, because that is the right thing to do. And now is the time our city has to change, because if it doesn't, most of us in this room will not be able to live in this city anymore. We will be pushed out. And as if that is not reality enough, we are living in a dark time. It's not a new darkness, though. We have been here before, and those of us who come from historically and presently oppressed groups know what this is like. But what gives me hope is many of you are now awakened to the reality, the implications of the administration we're living under. That black, brown, and cash poor people, we might be the canaries in the coal mine, but reality is, ultimately, we will all suffer. Said, hope is being able to see the light despite all of the darkness. In Seattle, y'all are showing me light, that we are a beacon of light in an incredibly dark time, a light which can inspire and encourage cities across the nation to rise up and resist, to divest from DACA. We started that. We were that. And I gotta thank all of us who are Native families who led us towards respect for the land. But we also have to build. It's not enough to resist, because that's just survival. It's time that we thrive, and I believe that this city can thrive under any administration when we share our collective power. We need to get to the point where we're a community that refuses to accept gentrification, refuses to accept policing and incarceration as inevitabilities. When a community is healthy, truly healthy, you do not have to over-police them. Accountability and policing are not the same. We have an incredible opportunity to make transformational change. I was at Brian Stevens' talk on Wednesday nights. Give it up for Brian Stevenson. He said something that moved me. He said, Seattle is a booming city and by conventional standards incredibly successful. But Seattle will not be judged by its rapid development and massive gains in income. Rather, Seattle will be judged by our response to homelessness and the housing crisis. Seattle will be judged by how we choose to bridge the gap, the growing opportunity gap and the gap between the cash wealthy and the cash poor. Seattle will be judged how we hold corporations accountable and expect them to have bright business practices. Seattle will be judged by how we treat the most vulnerable among us and the marginalized. That is the standard that ultimately we will be judged by. Make Seattle healthier and more equitable and more accessible for everyone is not an uncertainty, because there is a way. We can be a truly progressive city, both in word and deed. We just have to have the courage to take it there. So if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna get a little hip hop with y'all for a second. When I say whose city, y'all say ours. Whose city? Ours. Whose city? Ours. When I say whose city, y'all say ours. Whose city? Ours. Whose city? Ours. Whose city? Ours. Whose city? Ours. Seattle, this is our city. Thank you. Please vote for me for mayor. I would love to be